now tuned in to the Cold Hard Truth, Cayman's #1 hard-hitting live podcast show, where we feature some straightforward conversations on political, social, and celebrity news and all things happening in the Cayman Islands and around the world. This show was created to give the people a voice and a means of being involved and informed without any filters. Sometimes it gets crazy, but we always keep it real. We bring you the tea, piping hot, so grab your favorite beverage and join the conversation via WhatsApp at 324-1612. Email tips at CaymanMarlRoad.com. Now, here's your host, Sandy Hill, broadcasting live from the beautiful Cayman Islands.
Yo. This politician going about, vote for him.
What is that?
And give me $50.
$50?
Every time the election thing come around, you know.
Every time, boy.
Play.
What are going to do? We not to deal with politics, and them bag of tricks. Can't fool we and take with the clown. No. We not to deal with politics, and them bag of tricks. Vote for Hillary Clinton, cause him no. The foundation we grow up on, every 4 years a campaign slogan. How it is? Love go on like them no know man, until time fi come look out from. Oh, please not try fi come sweet me. All you a smile for your life easy. Them too deep and greedy. No one help but want to come greet me. Straight from Windsor Park to South Sound, I'll rig the people them war round. I get to youth have to fight down. Shape up this system right now. People are tired for cry now. But me just want the chance to provide now. For survive. No more tired of the tie down. We want freedom to live life now. We not to deal with politics, and them bag of tricks. Can't fool we and take with the clown. No. We not to deal with politics, and them bag of tricks. Vote for Hillary Clinton, cause him no.
En la vida de político siempre es lo mismo. Hace mucho tiempo no votaron por el chico, solo porque fue de viaje a diferentes lugares. Ahora viene con todo y más fuerte. Ahora no necesita de la suerte. Tiene más apoyo de su gente. Un hombre honesto hasta la muerte. Yeah. Y este señor simplemente quería ser un candidato mejor. Por eso estamos en eso de aprender el español. Honduras, Venezuela y Panamá. También se fue a República Dominicana. Luego ellos lo llevaron al gol, pensando que lo iban a ganar, pero no pudieron y salieron sin nada.
We not to deal with politics, and them bag of tricks. Can't fool we and take with the clown. No. We not to deal with politics, and them bag of tricks. Vote for Hillary Clinton, cause him no. Part two all them get fill again. Roundabout get fill again. It's an election pill again. Talk the goodwill again. Holy papa trick again. Things that get thick again. Suffering still a gone. Baby a ball while mommy a yarn. Daddy a work from dusk to dawn. Oh, this still a gone. But for the youth where I make the mark, I'll recap the house back to deal with politics, and them bag of tricks. Can't fool we and take with the clown. No. We not to deal with politics, and them bag of tricks. Vote for Hillary Clinton, cause him no. We not to deal with politics, and them bag of tricks. Can't fool we and take with the clown. No. We not to deal with politics, and them bag of tricks. Vote for Hillary Clinton, cause him no.
Good morning, everyone. How are you guys doing? Happy, what day is it? Wednesday. No, yes, Wednesday. Oh my gosh, the week is going so fast. I cannot even keep up. Hump Day Wednesday. And it's going to be West Bay Wednesday as well. We've got Katherine Wilks, who will be joining us a little bit later on. So we're absolutely looking forward to that. But folks, I played that song at the onset of the show today because we got to talk about some politics and their bag of tricks and what they have been up to in the political arena. Good morning. How are you guys doing? Let me see. We've got Marshall coming out of the barn early this morning. Marshall, you got your cup of tea ready? Because trust me, somebody said to me yesterday, they sent me a message. They're like, man, I have not been drinking so much tea in my life. You bringing it piping hot to the people. Now I'm trying to clean my poor little glasses here, folks, because, you know, I got to be able to see you. They're still a little bit smudgy. Ugh. Good morning to the beautiful Sharon. How are you? Thank you so much for logging in. We have Selena. Good morning, love. How are you? Barbara is here saying good morning to all. We've become like a little bit of not a little bit. We are definitely a family this morning. And every morning we're a family here in CMR, and we bring it to you guys cold, hot, however you like your tea. Because, you know, ice cold tea sometimes is nice too. I'm just saying. Nothing wrong with some iced tea. But we tend to bring it to you hot. We drop it hot. How is everyone? Corrine, Shelly Ann. Hump Day Wednesday. Absolutely. Trying to figure out if these glasses. Listen, every once in a while I have to take them to the professionals to get them clean because, whoo, I took them yesterday and they're dirty again. Glasses are so hard to keep clean. I used to wear glasses many years ago, and then I had LASIK surgery, and oh, what a godsend that was while that lasted. Apparently, it doesn't last forever. I'm so sad about that. The eyes are always fluctuating, honey child. But we're thankful that we can afford glasses and we can see what's going on around us. We can see the cold, hard truth, folks. No one is going to be fooling us anymore because the people deserve to know the truth. And we're going to bring you the truth this morning. We're going to be talking about Dwayne Joke Seymour and his bag of tricks, his politics, and what he got going on. Interesting times ahead. Good morning to Renika. Louis logged in. He says, good morning, CMR. Massive. Tea time with Sandra is how I start my day. Thank you so much, love. Barbara says, who's the singer that sings that song? Well, listen, Alric actually wrote the song, and then he had several performers. So there is a DJ, I'll have to get all the names, but there's Genius, Eugene that performs on it, and he was the producer, the choreographer, he's in the video shoot. So I'll get all the names, but some very talented, it's a collaboration of talented young men. I'll get the names from Alric. So buenos dias. All young, talented Caymanians, by the way. Yes, I'll get their names so we can big them up here on the show. Let me see. Miss Joy, the beautiful Miss Joy says, good morning, Sandy. Expecting the Privy Council decision on the day Baden. Oh, honey child. Oh, wow. Okay, keep me posted. Keep me posted. This is a big day. Yes, child. This is the same-sex Privy Council case. It's gone all the way to the Privy Council. Thank you for that reminder. right. Let me see here. Good folks. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Olivia, how are you? Uh-oh. Looks like I skipped forward. Oh, Brandon. No, I skipped even further. Wait a minute. What's going on with the computer? Folks, you know my poor little computer been kind of struggling. So even the skipping during Alwick's song, I think that is really not enough processing power. So thank you so much to our donors who are assisting with us getting some new equipment, including a new computer. Big shout out to Olivia. Louis says, I was singing it, but he's doing a better job. Yes, honey child. Politics, and politics. Good morning, Irvelyn, Richie. Buenos dias, Desi. Miss Beulah, Miss Morna, 119 people already logged in. We got 8 people watching via our YouTube channel. And I'm sure there's some more on the website. Miss Morna is here. Gina is here. Louis says that hand sanitizer has so much alcohol in it, it's actually good for cleaning glasses. Might have to check that out. Good morning, James, watching us from Canada. Hey, Brandon, how you doing? Lizette is here, says blessings. Love CMR, hot or cold? Yes, child. And you guys know yesterday afternoon, I was a little bit hot under the collar about Gina Williams and her ridiculousness. I had to give you guys some necessary realness on that one. Good morning, Louisa. Juliet is here. Jackie is logged in. Larry from New York. And Miss Anne Marie. Carol says ongoing as we speak. Corey, Valdine, Garth. Let's get it. All beautiful people ready for the cold hard truth. So everybody loves the song. Definitely has a good vibe. I agree, Marshall. Yes, it's a danceable song for sure. So listen, yesterday morning, before we ended the program, I reminded you all of, or we had a brief little discussion about this situation now with, I don't know what we're going to call this. We're going to call this Dwayne Gate or something. But this is with the Minister of Health. We'll go through all of his titles: health, housing, blah, blah, blah. He's got a long list of things that he's responsible for. Giving out a $5,000 payment to one of his constituents. Now, at the time, we were still doing a little bit of digging to put our story together and to properly inform you all of what was transpiring. All right, Alexa, you need to come off. Hey. As a matter of fact, permit me to mute Alexa because I do not want Alexa interrupting my program. Just give me 1 second. All right, folks, Alexa's turned all the way down because we don't want to hear her announcements this morning. Good advice, Larry. I think I need just the right type of soap. But anyway, let's talk about a little political cleansing that needs to happen come April the 14th. So the good minister, who has been less than stellar during the last 4 years, is assisting someone with house repairs. Good morning, Julie. According to his letter, he says that we have to ensure that all living conditions are available. I don't know what the rest of that says, but it says seek to ensure that living conditions are available for all Caymanians. Yes, good minister, we believe in that for sure. Without a doubt, we need all Caymanians to be able to survive in this country. And I dare say that in order to do that, we should all be on board with political accountability and holding people to the exact same standards, no matter who they are, who they're connected to politically, and so forth. Do you not all agree with me? This is a basic premise of most democratic societies. We shouldn't be doling out favors just because we like someone or because we are family to certain people. That isn't how it should work. But let me tell you, the reality is, even on our little island, that's exactly what is happening. So permit me to break it down to you now, what we know. Because one of the great things about living in the Cayman Islands is you can't hide much for long. Yes. That's why I love Cayman. And that's why, to be quite frank and honest, Cayman Mall Road is such a success. Because listen, we put up a story and all of a sudden the multiple phones bring, double bring. Sandy, did you know? Sandy, did you know? I'm like, oh, because my ears always perked up like, what did you say? Are you kidding? Wow. So here's what we know about the situation that makes this even more suspect than we originally thought. Okay. Let's break it down, folks. Yesterday, that letter had a lot of questions. Who is this woman? Public funds are being used. Is this the appropriate way, the appropriate department, the appropriate ministry? How does all of this work? So now we know a little bit more about the parties involved. First of all, we now know that this lady, Sharon Williams, and I'm afraid I do not have a picture of her. I got a description. She's a brown-skinned Caymanian. Well, whatever that means. I mean, that's like 80% of the Cayman population right there. That's not particularly helpful, right? Sharon Williams works for government. So she is a civil servant. Okay. Well, now, that makes this even more interesting. Not only is she a constituent of Mr. Seymour, but now we know she is also a civil servant, and she works in his ministry. Apparently, she works at the HSA, I'm told. Okay. Interesting. Not only does she work at the ministry, but my sources indicate that she used to work as his PA. Hello. This is a hot mess if I've ever seen one. The hole keeps getting deeper here. His PA. So the two of them have a good working relationship, I would say. If this does not reek to the high heavens of a political or personal favor, I don't care how you cut it, because this is government money we're talking about here. Okay. So let's say we give everybody the benefit of the doubt, because here's what else is going on here. The guy who got the contract, this multi-build construction, people just Google his name, honey child. You're going to see all kind of people taking this dude to court. Everton, what's his first name? Hold on one second. Let me pull up the story here. As a matter of fact, someone said to me, this is how life is so incredibly ironic, right? When we did our story, someone said to me, but Sandy, there's someone in my WhatsApp news group now, which, by the way, join the WhatsApp news group. Just message me, 324-1612. You can get all the news alerts. Good morning to Catherine. Thank you for logging in. Catherine is in the US of A. Someone said to me, but don't you remember that you had warned me about this guy before? And my poor little brain, I tell you what, it's a good thing I'm an honest person because I have the worst memory sometimes in the entire world. I just can't remember. But there's so many fraudsters out there that I report on one and I can't even get it to sink in for long because here comes the next one. And I got to report on that one. So sometimes I just do not remember. And this person said, yes, girl, you warned me about him. And it's a good thing that I didn't use him. Well, hold on. Everton, what the heck is his name now? Hold on. Yes, here's what the person said to me. This is the same Everton Vidal was the guy I asked you about to look up for me last year or so when he gave me a quote for construction and I saw where he had been sued. When I told my architect who had recommended him about his issues, he had no clue and instantly stopped recommending him to people. The person goes on to say, you looked it up on whatever subscription thing you have access to and told me about the National Housing lawsuit. National Housing was trying to take his house, which I mean, let's just say he ran into financial difficulties. And he had another suit where he was joined with Morris Garcia. And I was like, Lord have mercy. I don't even recall that. But thank you for the reminder. Yes, Fabio, giving you all this sauce this morning. You got your tea ready? Listen, this might need 2 scoops of Milo. That's how hot this can get because you got to see what's coming up next. Cece has her mug. Miss Sue, you need to get yours. Cece says she's sipping it extra slow because it's really hot. Don't burn your tongue on the team. Be trying to sue me now because it's going to get, I'm turning it up just a little notch here. So people start calling me yesterday about this woman and they start to wonder, is she in true financial need, Felicia? And this grieves me because there are people who really are in need. They have no medical health insurance. They have no way to pay basics like rent, utilities. Now, I don't know what kind of roof repairs this woman has, but she is a civil servant. She has a civil service job. Civil servants haven't gotten a pay cut. Let us remember what has transpired during COVID. Not a single one of them have lost a job because COVID. They've not gotten a pay cut. They've not lost any benefits. Now, let's just dig a little bit deeper. This Everton guy who owns Multi-Build Construction Company Limited, like I said, you can Google him. He is a recently registered voter, Everton Earl Vidal of 85 Jasmine Lane, building contractor. You look on the electors list, and guess what? The dude just got registered and added to the list as of February. What month are we in? February. The same month, he's in the last list, folks. It was updated to the government website February the 3rd. And it says you can get the link for yourself. Gives you all the people who were added. I see people on here who have passed away. They were removed. And it gives you people who have been added. So guess what? Let me just tell you now. Vidal. He is in the district of, guess where? You guessed it. On page number 3 of 8. Okay. Revised list of electors. Mr. Vidal shows up on the list. He is a voter. 85 Jasmine Lean. I don't even know where 85 Jasmine Lean is. However, according to this, he falls in the constituency of, hold on one second now. Let me just double check this. The list is a little bit hard to navigate the way that they have it in Excel. I mean, it's not Excel. It is, okay, now where is, this list is so horrible. But anyway, he's in the district as well. So listen to me closely now, because I'm gonna do a triple and double check on him with the electors list. So we go to elections.ky. This is where, folks, you got to have your investigative skills. And thank God that a lot of this information is public information online. Someone said, oh, but Miss Sandy, aren't you going to get in trouble for saying their name? It's all online, honey child. Public information. Official register of electors. You can go and look it up. You can look people up. You can put in any part of the name, Vidal, and boom. Oh, no, that's not him. Hold on. Let's check another. Sometimes they got, but wait a minute. Have they not updated this portion of the list? I'm on election office. So they have him on the document that says he's just been added as in February, but it looks like they haven't yet updated the searchable database. All right, elections office, get on it, because we need to be able to search that list. Jasmine Street. You guys look it up. Tell me where it's at. So it looks like this man is also in the constituency. He's originally from Jamaica, I understand. Came to Cayman, married a Caymanian. All sorts of stories about how horribly he treated her. She had to get rid of him, folks. And it was hard to get rid of him. By then, he already had stayed here long enough to acquire his status. One of those, users. On top of that, folks, listen to how him and Sharon Williams are connected. This isn't a random situation of Miss Sharon saying, okay, I've got roof repairs. Let me get 3 quotes. I will submit 3 quotes to the good minister because I know he believes in doing his due diligence. He doesn't. She's trying to help line the pockets of a friend. Not just a friend, but her son's, what do we call them now? Godfather. Her son's godfather. Talk about nepotism. So let's follow the nepotism trail, because there's breadcrumbs of nepotism all over this. Minister, someone works in his ministry, potential nepotism. Former PA of the minister, potential nepotism. Constituent, potential nepotism. Probably a friend, potential nepotism. Her and Mr. Everton, who owns the construction company, very close apparently, because that is her son's godfather. Definite nepotism. That ain't no potential. What evidence did the minister require about these roof repairs? How do we know that these roof repairs are even legit? That's the first question I want to know. Was there any due diligence? Now, stick a pin. There are people who are going out there and getting these business grants from government, right? Civil servants are handling the process. They've hired like accountants to assist the small businesses getting their forecasts together and all this stuff. They were requiring all sorts of documentation. You got to prove this. You got to show this. You got to produce invoices and receipts and bank account statements. And we need to know that this is really an ongoing business. We need a business license. We need a one long list of stuff. What did the minister, the good minister, Mr. Moon Man himself, do tell? What is it that he required of Miss Sharon? Well, I'll tell you what. Based on how he handles other issues, he probably required nothing of her. And I'm going to tell you why I believe that.
A very special connection with the moon. I was born in July 1969, and everybody knows what happened then. The first man went on the moon in the month I was born, July 1969. The thing about the moon is that we have more energy. We feel more extroverted and connected to our partners, and have more interest in sex due to our gravitational pull of the moon and Earth and the consequent energy released during this time. If you didn't know, a full moon increases women's sexual desire. The lunar cycle seems to affect women of all shapes and sizes. So I'm just saying, pay attention to the moon and bring up these totals. And by the way, this is not irresponsible. This is about saving a nation.
Folks, we're trying to save a nation here. Now, one of my sleuth detectives has just informed me that he's actually registered in Prospect. So my apologies. We're going to get it right this morning. We're going to correct it. So he's not in the constituency, but he is the godfather of her child. But apparently Jasmine Street is actually in Prospect, but one other person said they thought it was in Northwood. We're going to verify. But let's go with Prospect. We're going to give everybody the benefit of the doubt this morning as much as we possibly can. It's in Prospect. All right, so that's one less potential nepotism circle going on here. Now, let's look at something else here, folks. The financial need of this woman. Would you be surprised if I told you that she owns 6 apartments? 6 apartments that have been rented out all of this time, plus a full-time job as a civil servant. This is the property in question. These are some of the apartments. Here we go. Front of the house. 6 apartments. Now, I don't know if these are 1-bedroom apartments, 2-bedroom apartments, or what we're talking about here. But folks, even a 1-bedroom, you are not getting less than probably $1,000 in this day and age, no matter where you live in Cayman for a 1-bedroom. 1 room, you're lucky if you can get that for $600-$700. If it's a 1-bedroom, you get $1,000 a pop times 6. So let's do the minimum math. In my good books of hardcore economics, that is probably at least $6,000 a month on top of your government salary. Recently added on to the house. Somebody built on a room, probably the same Everton friend. And you are in need when other people are jobless during this pandemic. And the good minister has the audacity to insult us about all Caymanians should have livable or living conditions available to all Caymanians. Minister, let me advise you, when you talk about saving a nation, this is not how we do it. We don't save a nation by neglecting those most in need, going through what appears to be the improper procedure and means of assisting people. Ministry of Health, Environment, Culture, and Housing. Where is NAU if this woman was in need? You know why? Because had she gone to NAU, NAU would have said, "Madam, we wish to assist you as we do all Caymanians." But this is what they would have done. Trust me, I know. Here is the long list of requirements, miss. You get us this passport, Caymanian this economic statements, blah, blah, blah. We need a bank account statement, DNA for your firstborn child. We want all of these things before you can come to us and get any help. It is a laborious process. It's a lot. It wears people out. There are people who cannot even read and write that are forced to fill out documentation to get NAU assistance. There are people who are physically challenged, have mental health issues, have no job, no government pension guaranteed, no guaranteed health insurance, no 6 apartments to rely on. And NAU is barely going to give them a $150 food voucher. So I don't know Miss Sharon Williams. I don't know I could pass a woman in the street and not even know her. But I have an issue with when things are not handled in the proper way. I have an issue with Dwayne Seymour allegedly having a reputation for doing this sort of thing all the time. When you listen to the political chatter in the Cayman Islands, folks, when it comes to what we term garrison-style politics, the one name that comes up time and time again is the fact that the one name that comes up time and time again is that of Dwayne Seymour when it comes to how this man operates. Self-styled gangster policy is what someone called it yesterday after yesterday's show. He takes giving handouts to a different level that is beyond dangerous. It reeks of alleged corruption. It's a dangerous slope for us to be going down. There are stories, folks, on the Mall Road in Bodden Town of people on the payroll getting a monthly check for doing nothing but supporting the minister. We have children in this country that go hungry every single day. They go to school hungry because their parents don't have no food, no money to buy proper food. They are nutritionally challenged. They're not getting a balanced meal, not even an apple or banana in the morning. Because, fruits aren't cheap. They're some of the most expensive things in the grocery store. Fresh fruits. It's easier for a parent to just buy them junk food. We have elderly in this country who have no health insurance coverage. Listen to me very, very carefully. He is the Minister of Health. And yet there are people in this country who can't even go to the doctor because they cannot afford it. This same minister owes a man by the name of Donovan Chambers a lot of money for pension. Okay? So much money over the course of, it's like 16 years ago. And the man is still waiting for his money. Yet we see him engaging in elaborate parties, Super Bowl parties. He just had that the other day. Bringing in bands when he could pre-COVID. All sorts of stuff. Creating this Garrison-style mentality that this man, this elected official, is going to give you something in life. He's going to give you a handout. Well, you know what they say about when you giveth on the one hand, they're taking it on the next hand. And that's exactly what is happening. And the entire country will suffer because he is not just the representative for, where is he at? Bordentown. Oh, I always forget his district. Bordentown East. He is also the Minister of Health. He is responsible, quite frankly, for why people who work in the tourism industry haven't had insurance when he promised that eons ago. Let me read one of those messages now from someone. Hold on a second here now. This is a mother of a young child, and she shared yesterday how she is particularly concerned about this minister and his actions. Here's what she had to say. She says, God, he's a damn liar. I've been without health insurance for over 6 months. And he lied on the press briefing saying CIG would begin coverage from March again, and all of her medical debts would be erased. Tourism worker without a job and a young mouth to feed. But the minister says that he believes in equality for all Caymanians, he says. Every Caymanian deserves to have living conditions. Well, does every Caymanian not deserve to eat? Does every Caymanian not deserve to have a utility bill paid? But we don't need, folks, politicians, to be doing this for us. That is the worst thing in the world that we need to start creating, that type of mentality. What we need is the ability to simply have the infrastructure in place where housing is not out the wazoo, where we can't even afford it, where we can work and get more than $6 per hour to be able to support our own families for ourselves. We don't need a handout because, believe me, there's not enough money there for everyone to be getting a handout, especially the people that obviously financially do not appear to even need it. Every time you go and beg them for a handout, believe me when I tell you, this country as a whole is suffering because of it. Everybody cussing about developers, big developers coming in and what they're able to do and how they're taking over and all the concessions that they're getting. Well, why do you think that is? Why do you think they're getting all these concessions and, oh, we have to keep giving away the country to big developers? Because of all of the fiscal mismanagement, which includes people getting financial assistance from government who do not need it. Now you're thinking to yourself, well, it's only $5,000. $5,000 here, $10,000 here, no lack of transparency, no accountability. Who knows how many more of these types of letters have been issued? This particular one made it to the surface. And I thank whoever this person is, because you can see the outline of the phone. I don't know if they're using an iPhone or a Samsung phone or what, but if you look closely, you can almost see like the outline of the shadow and kind of the phone, like they were holding up a phone and taking a picture. I thank you, whoever you are, for recognizing this for what it is. And that is something that should have never happened. Financial assistance, housing repairs for Miss Sharon Williams. This is to advise you that I have approved the sum of $5,000 KYD from the 2021 transfer something account. I don't even know what that account is. Can we get some information on this account? What is it used for? Is it an account that he can just do this with all the time? Where's the Auditor General? According to the quote included for materials and labor to repair the roof and ceilings. Okay. Is this repairing the roof and ceilings on her rental properties that she's making money on? The 6 units? Is it her personal house? What are the details? We don't know. And we will never know. Now, what we know is that after we brought this up on the show yesterday, people were talking to Miss Sharon about this. And she said, I don't care what that Sandra woman got to say. I don't care. Because I got to take it. If it's being offered to me, I got to take it. I don't business with her. You should be ashamed of yourself. But I can't blame you because, the system, if it's allowing people to abuse it, of course you're going to take advantage of it. Of course you're going to take it. That's why we need to have checks and balances in place that stops this sort of thing from happening. Now, let us think about this for a second. Remember a little something called the Nation Building Fund? That there were allegations of how that was abused. I think the Auditor General did a whole report on that, saying that there are people who were friends of Mr. Bush, political allies, kids got scholarships for private schools in the US to the tune of thousands of dollars, maybe even hundreds of thousands of dollars. There was no accountability. There was nothing for most of the people. Now, I am a person who, through my business, received funds through the Nation Building Program after submitting a proposal, going through all sorts of due diligence processes. The government, the subsequent government, which was a PPM government, then tried to accuse me of all sorts of wrongdoings. The judge threw the case out because it was so utterly ridiculous. February of 2013, Nation Building Fund, $9.5 million spent in the first 3 years. Now, folks, put that in context. Do you know what $9.5 million could do? So from December of 2009 to June of 2012, spending from the Cayman Islands Nation Building Fund topped $9.5 million, with nearly half of that going to some 20 churches and church groups. Jesus, where are you in all of this? Please take the wheel. Records obtained from the Ministry of Tourism and Development indicate that religious groups received $4.6 million from the fund during the first 3 budget cycles of its existence. Nearly $3 million was spent in grants to other individuals and organizations. About $1.5 million was awarded to 99 YNBP scholars. So let's break it down. 48% of the nation building fund expenses went to churches. 31% went to various grants for God knows what. And only 16% went for students' education. Now, folks, when you sit down and you realize how dismal our education system is, we shouldn't be pumping of this nation building fund almost 50% into churches who are not educating our children about much of anything. They're barely teaching them what the Bible says. And only 16% for students' education. We are in trouble with a broken education system. We have children coming out of schools, folks, who cannot read and write. So when we talk about their prospects of getting a job, we're all trying to fight for equality in employment and qualified Caymanians having opportunities. The truth of the matter is, we're not putting our money even where our mouth is. We're paying lip service to this whole education issue. Now, listen to this. Of the $4.6 million given to religious groups, I'm just using this nation building fund as an example of how these fund accounts can go awry. Of the $4.6 million given to religious groups, half of that went to two churches. Wesleyan Holiness Church in West Bay. Can you guys remind me, where does Mr. Bush go to church? I don't know what church he attends. But half went to Wesleyan Holiness, which received $1.3 million, and Church of God, Town, received $1 million. In 2011, Wesleyan Holiness received planning permission to build a $2 million two-story church hall with classrooms and apartments next to the existing church on Northwest Point Road. And the church has not yet been, the hall, my apologies, has not yet been built. And this was a 2013 article that I'm referring to, so I don't know if it's been built now. Church of God in Town is in the process of building a multi-purpose hall. This is the one now that they claim is going to be a hurricane shelter that still ain't finished. They claim that's going to cost them under $4 million. Other churches receiving money included Church of God, West Bay. They received $450,000, almost $500,000. Seventh-day Adventist Church in West Bay received $275,000. No accountability for how any of this money was spent. The Light of the World Christian Fellowship Church got $180,000. All Nation United Pentecostal got $175,000. New Testament Church of West Bay got $130,000. Isn't it interesting how most of the churches were in West Bay? I'm just saying. They reminded us in this article that at the time, the Nation Building Fund grants was a hot topic on the candidates forum. Nothing ever came of it, folks. Not a single church was held to account. PPM government at the time, candidate Marco Archer received big applause for his statement from the roughly 80 people who attended this debate, where he said absolutely unequivocally, I believe that money was given to churches amounts to nothing more than corruption. That's what Mr. Archer said at the time. And believe me, I agree with Mr. Archer 1,000%. Coalition for Cayman endorsed candidate C4C, Roy McTaggart, now he's PPM, next is going to be their next leader, also voiced his objection to the way the church grant was handled by saying, and this is the quote, "Smells like vote buying to me, one way or another." So now I wonder, in light of those historical comments about government money being doled out through some fund, in that case, it was the Nation Building Fund, how are the current representative, the incumbents, feeling about what seems to still be occurring under their unity government? It mightn't have been 9 point something million dollars, but who knows? The point is, we don't know. This one letter was revealed, but how many others have not been revealed? How many do we not know about? This was a lot of money. You know, seriously. The foolish spending, vote buying of government funds, government resources. Listen, if they want to engage with vote buying from their own pocket, it's still vote buying, and I still have a problem with it from that perspective. However, I have far less to say about that because it's not the people's money. It's still wrong. It still amounts to corruption. Selling your vote doesn't benefit you in any real way. But when it comes to government money, which we all pay through duties, whether it's stamp duties, import duties, whatever, they're finding a way to get the money from us. Different application fees that we have to pay. This is where the buck has got to stop. Everybody says, oh, the good minister is so popular. Well, it looks like he has a good reason to be popular. This is a shame. April the 14th is right around the corner. Katherine Wilks is going to be joining us here now. Gerardo wants to know, why are we paying for churches? I thought the church was separate from the government. Well, apparently not in the Cayman Islands. We are very invested politically in churches, apparently. Barbara says government is ridiculous. It looks to me like it's who you know. Very sad. Kathy, let's talk about government corruption. Good morning, my dear.
Good morning, Sandra. Good morning, everyone.
How are you?
Good. How about you?
Excellent. In spite of. El Rey reminded us that one church, once this article came out, was so tainted by the heat of it that they did return the money. And El Rey, you're absolutely right. I can't remember who it was. Was it Wesleyan? Maybe. I cannot remember. Katherine, when you see things like this happening in this country, money being handed out through this ministry to someone, and we the people have to speculate really about why it was done, how it was done, what checks and balances would have been put in place. What are your solutions or proposed solutions on how to ensure that this sort of behavior stops?
You hit the nail on the head, speculation. Right now, that's really all it is. I mean, it just shows the need for there to be transparency across the board. I really can't speak any more on that at this point. I just joined, so I don't really know what you did speak about the letter. I did happen to see it. But I do believe that we need to ensure that anything that is done within government there needs to be a clear process that's available to the general public. I'd like to give the minister the benefit of the doubt, just the mere fact that it's on government letterhead. I mean, I can't defend him because I don't know, but it is questionable as of to why he would put something on letterhead if he was trying to do something dishonest. But we're humans, and it shows again the need where, you know, if you have transparency, then people don't doubt, right? So
Yeah, I mean, we shouldn't have to be, the truth of the matter is, Catherine, we shouldn't have to be speculating here at all because these are government funds. So we should know exactly, what procedures were undertaken, how this money was obtained, how many quotes were provided. All of that really should be a matter of public record.
No,
So you're right. We don't like to speculate, but we're forced to speculate because none of this information is put in the public domain by the people who have the power to do so.
And I think the more that we see, the word I'm trying to use, the more that we see where information is withheld from the public, obviously that's going to make you, raise red flags. So again, if any governance wants its people to be supportive and to buy into whatever it is that they're trying to, push forward for the country, they certainly need to be transparent. And that's what I'm learning from the outside looking in.
Mm-hmm. So Glenda says nothing wrong with helping a needy Caymanian. Glenda, that's absolutely right. But are they needy with 6 apartments, a government job? I mean, these are just logical questions. We don't know. But on the face of it, it looks like they're valid questions. And yes, you can help a needy Caymanians, but there's certain procedures and protocols that are in place for doing so. You don't just give somebody connected to you, one of your constituents, a $5,000 repair job on their roof when they have a government job. They've not suffered directly as a result of this pandemic. There's been no government cuts because of it. There have been no pay cuts from civil servants. So
Sandra,
the needy.
Sandra, just a thought came to mind in terms of talking about transparency and removing doubt. I think a lot of people are not aware that each MP has a constituency budget where that money is used to allocate within the constituency. And again, if there's transparency with that, you remove doubt. So for me, that's one of the things that I would like to see is constituency budgets being made public, or budgets, an annual budget where you can show where all of the funds have been allocated. Because that's something that as a constituent, I question, where is the money going back into the constituency? So
absolutely. And we've talked about
we need to have measures, checks and balances in place across the board.
Yeah. And you know what, Catherine, we have talked about this money, this constituency budget in the past. So, it's certainly an interesting point that you raise. Troy says we need a political culture of transparency and accountability that requires not only a change of MPs, but a change of expectation by the people. Troy, I would love for you to explain exactly what you mean by that. Folks, remember now, you can participate in the conversation and you can call in. We invite you to do so at any time. The link remains the same from 1 week to the next.
Yeah. It's the Cold Hard Truth News Podcast. Cold Hard Truth News Podcast. Come make we talk on the live broadcast. It's the Cayman #1 live talk show. Come make we talk where you go on the news.
All right, folks, so you can participate. Marshall says, I guess that's why so many churches don't speak out when the government is wrong, or even about the Speaker of the House. That's interesting because none of them have talked about abuse. They're afraid that they will get cut off. Marshall has an opinion that woman doesn't appear to be needy, but perhaps greedy. Marshall is telling Kathy she needs to get herself a CMR mug.
I do. I was going to say that to you today, Sandra. I need a mug.
Yes, girl. And that ain't vote buying. That's a free mug. No expectations attached. Kathy, what have you been up to in the past week since we have spoken with you? I know you've been doing a lot of door-to-door and meeting with your constituents. How has that been going for you?
Yeah, well, Sandra, I actually started door-to-door probably safe to say around October. I announced mid-September. Kind of got a constituency map a plan in place, and I just started mapping through the constituency. So I've covered most of Birch Tree Hill and a portion of Mount Pleasant. And now I'm over on the other side and down in towards the Bonneville, or the border of the shores, really. So it's been nice. It's a little bit challenging because most of the persons on this side, they're a little harder to reach in terms of availability. But I'm feeling really good. I'm excited. I have my first public meeting on Thursday night. It's off 122 Glade Drive. And so I'm really looking forward to just, getting into the issues and solutions. And then I will have a portion of the meeting set aside for putting myself really in a hot seat and allowing anybody in the general public to pose a question to me while I'm on the platform. So I'm really just excited to be able to, be a choice for West Bay Central. I will say that the people are very responsive, and I'm excited.
Good. Awesome. So it sounds like it's going very, very well. This is your second go around, Kathy, at running in that same district. What's different this time than the last time that you ran?
Well, I have more time. Last time, I think a lot of people, especially now, I'm watching candidates announce, a couple of days before nomination.
Yes.
So some people would look at it and say that it's strategy. I just want to let the public know that that wasn't the case for me. Last election was the first election with the single member constituency regime, we'll call it. And I was looking for who was really challenging the incumbent. And everywhere I went, I heard that no one was challenging him. And then I started to look for persons that I felt would have been stellar leaders. And their response to me was, I'm focusing on my business, or I'm focusing on my family. Why don't you do it? And by, I think it was probably the end of January, February, the wheels were turning. And before I knew it, I had put myself in the race. So it wasn't a strategy to say I was coming out late and waiting for the incumbent it had nothing to do with that. But the problem that I had was I didn't have enough time to reach every person. And so I really had to rely on social media. The Compass did a
Q&A.
Yeah, and then there was a national debate. I think that was hosted by Cayman 27. And then there was one other. And then the Chamber of Commerce did the debate. So I really had to rely on a certain portion of the constituency, just using that to measure the two candidates to determine, or make an informed decision. This time around, although the timeline has changed, it's my goal to really meet everyone and have, at least an exchange with them to hear issues and, just exchange a little bit of information about myself. So it's good. I am a little bummed about the early election. But you know what? We're here now. And it doesn't make sense, as my grandmother would say, to cry over spoiled milk. We just keep moving forward, and we just use the time that we have wisely. So that's kind of where I'm at right now with my canvassing and the constituency. The reason why I raised the issue about the constituency budget is because that is something that a lot of constituents are not even aware of. And a lot of constituents complain that they only see, certain things happening leading up to the election. So I just feel that, I'm sure I'm not going to try to discredit the incumbent. I'm sure that he has done a lot on the ground. But this is where, if you have an annual budget where you could reflect on, you could see, okay, well, this is where the money was allocated to. But as of right now, it's like, it's a guessing game. Going back to the letter, it's a guessing game. And that's where we need to have more transparency.
Yeah. Well, Troy is joining us, but before he does, Kathy, there is a question for you here from Eden that says, how do we get transparency in government dealings? Is there draft legislation to support transparency?
Eden, I can't really answer your question with a definitive answer. I don't think there is, but it's something that would be you just need to elect leaders that would have the political will, that wouldn't have an issue with, ensuring that we have, I think that would go in the code of conduct, right? Draft legislation to support transparency. I think that I'm not really sure the mechanism, but it's certainly something that we should, as a country, look at. And it's something that every candidate, I would hope would have on their top priorities. It would certainly be on mine.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, let's hear from Troy. Troy, good morning, and thank you so much.
Good morning,
for
Sandra.
Joining us. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. I took up your invitation to call in and explain my comment a little bit more.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think that transparency is one of these words that we kick around, and we say, well, if there's transparency, that means that everybody's going to agree on how things are done. And the Stingray feeding program is a program that is being funded by government, and I'm the administrator of that program. Mm-hmm. And from the very first day we started the program, we put in place, and I specifically put in place, a methodology that would record every single transaction that happened. So that in the event that an auditor needed to audit what is a modest amount of money, that the information would be there. But that doesn't necessarily mean that everybody looking at that would agree, let's say, on how it should have been spent. Should it have been $250 instead of $300, or so I think that transparency doesn't necessarily mean that everybody's going to agree on how the money is spent.
Right.
But the reason why I use the word culture, I think that if we can establish a culture, a political culture of transparency, what that actually does is it makes everyone that's involved in the process know that the transaction is going to be open to the public for scrutiny. So that automatically raises the bar on how the transaction is run. But I think that culture of transparency requires not only a change of MPs, but it actually requires a change in the expectations of people. One thing I've learned about politicians in my years of observing is that politicians never do anything that they are not required to do, pushed to do, in one way, shape, or form, particularly if it makes life more difficult for them. And, the reality is bringing more transparency to government transactions is going to make life more difficult, even if no one's being dishonest. The fact that you just got to account for every penny and all of that. So I think that we as people, instead of just sitting down and having conversations about, this wasn't right or that wasn't right, what we need to do is we need to set a ground foundation of transparency, recognizing that we will still not, as a people, always agree on how money is spent. But we can all agree on the fact that how the money is spent should be open for public scrutiny. But I put out a post a few days ago that says, we have to engage, right? The only way that we will get change is to make this a topic of the highest level of priority in our national election discussion. So the candidates will then respond to say, okay, just like how Eden asked Kathy, how do we do this? The candidates will then have to have an answer. But if we, the people, do not hold the candidates' feet to the fire and say, answer this question, then the question won't be answered. And even if we put in some sort of transparency law or whatever, it just won't be enforced. So I believe that. And
the question, to your point, Troy, not to interrupt you, but to your point, the question won't even be asked.
Exactly. So we, the people, we have to decide how we want our government to be governed, how we want our country to be governed. We have to establish that. And we have to set the terms of engagement. We have to set the terms of employment for our MPs. We have to determine what we want. On a WhatsApp group this morning, and I'll comment to this because I'm sure that some of these people are watching, there was a conversation this morning about hospitals and why are we developing more hospitals, and that money could be better spent here and there. Now, personally, I have seen huge improvements in health services in Cayman for people that I love as a result of Health City being there. So I have no hesitation whatsoever in saying that Health City has raised the bar for medical services in Cayman and has saved countless lives. So the principle of continuing the development of provision of medical services in Cayman, not just for Caymanians, but for regional. When I was a child, everybody used to go to Jamaica. Anything, you wanted your tonsils out, you went to Jamaica. Jamaica was a regional medical center. So I see actually a very good strategy in Cayman becoming a regional medical center, because there are millions of people in our region who do not have a visa to go to the United States. so they could come here for medical services. You know, if we could attract Americans to come here for medical services, that's even better, in the sense that it means that we have very cost-effective medical services. And then the third and very important priority is it means that Caymanians have access to medical services. So, but that doesn't take away from the point that we need to then be saying, but hang on, what's happening with the government medical services? Because what I haven't seen is that the HSA has improved and risen to the challenge laid down by other hospitals. So what I don't want is, I don't want government simply giving up their responsibility to provide public services. It's the same thing in education. Just because there are lots of good private schools doesn't relinquish the government of its responsibility to provide quality public education for its people. And that's my concern with going the private hospital route, is that the HSA just continues to languish and languish and languish to where it becomes irrelevant. But what we do is that we criticize, and I'm told every day how much I criticize government, you know, and I actually don't think I criticize government. I think I criticize certain government policies. And so therefore, the criticism that why are we developing hospitals, I don't actually agree with that criticism. I feel that if we're going to develop things, let's develop hospitals, because unlike a hotel, a hospital actually provides services to Caymanians. Whereas if you build a 500-room hotel, that doesn't really provide any services to Caymanians. So I want to differentiate, and I want us to draw out, as we talk about transparency, to recognize that transparency does not mean that we're all going to agree on the transaction, the justification for the transaction, the processing of the transaction, the outcome of the transaction. But what it does is establish a culture that says every transaction is under the scrutiny of the people, and it's on the table for criticism, praise, whatever. If we develop this culture, it will revolutionize our governance. But first of all, we, the people, need to recognize that quality governance of our nation is not down to just the MPs. It is down to each and every one of us, and not just when we stand for election. It is down for us to ensure good governance every single day of the election cycle. Absolutely. And the parliament after that.
Wow, Troy, stand by for me. That's some good talking points. Just stand by while we review a few of the comments that are coming in. Johan says the current MP for Georgetown North, Joey Hugh, has also spent CIG funds to redevelop homes and assist a select few constituents. How does cabinet MPs, the ministry, decide which Caymanians are deserving of such assistance? What is the process that guides how public funds are being spent? Again, exactly what both Katherine and Troy are saying. Miss Venice says all of these new, I don't know what that little, is that a lollipop symbol?
Candy, maybe it's a candidates or something.
Yeah. Candidates. Okay. Candy. Got it.
Yeah.
Dates better wise up and pretty fast, because if they win, they will be held to the same standards of accountability. Okay. Well, let's hope that they're ready for that. They do have an obligation, by the way, to file their interests by Friday. So that's an important reminder. Thank you so much for that as well. Which reminds me, I do have to play a little audio note here, reminding us all of that requirement. So, Katherine, what are your thoughts on what Troy has just shared with us?
Yeah, I mean, like, I actually, while he was chatting, I was just having a quick browse through, and I was just looking, the American Legislative Exchange Council, they actually have legislation, the Transparency and Government Accountability Act, which requires information like budgets and I was looking at the expenditure, sources of funds. It sets out where everything should be shared with the public, bids and contracts for purchases. So certainly, to go back to Eden's question, I believe that this would be something that would need to be implemented as soon as possible, but implemented with teeth, you know, where you have a commission, and we look at the standards and public life law that has been passed, but there's the commission that would actually run our function to work, to hold accountability under that law hasn't been established. So we also need to just take advantage of the fact of where we are at as a country. I think people, like, Troy, like Eden, we have lots of people power going on right now. And this is where we get transparency and accountability by the citizens holding the government accountable and saying, we want more. And one of the things that I am campaigning on is education and empowerment. And that's the reason why, in my view, for so long, we haven't had accountability, because our people have been left out of the conversations. And many of us haven't really taken the time to try to understand, because it's designed in a way that's difficult for us to understand as laypersons. And so I really feel that we're at a good place as a country. We have the CPR movement was the perfect example of what we can do together as a country. And I think that we need to ask for more and demand more. Yeah. So I think Troy is spot on with where he's going, and we just need to make it happen.
Yeah, we gotta talk to our neighbors. We gotta talk to our family. We gotta say it's okay to ask the questions. It's okay to demand. I mean, the culture in Cayman is such that as soon as you say something, you are labeled as a troublemaker, a rebel, a rascal. You're literally castigated, and your patriotism is called into question. How dare you question? You criticize the civil servants, or this or that or whatever. And it's just absolutely ridiculous. I mean, we have got to mature the political discussion in our country and the political governance, to make people realize that you can disagree on a point. It doesn't make you an enemy. I mean, it's just that simple. We disagree with our brothers, with our cousins, with our, we sit around the dinner table and we argue. I mean, that's a Caymanian thing to do, right? Where everything is always heated. Your family get together and you're talking politics all night and whatever, right? So if we can do it and still hug each other at the end of the family dinner, and why can we not do this as a nation? Why is it that as soon as you ask a question, you are labeled literally as some sort of revolutionary radical? Well, if that's the label that needs to be put, well, that's the label that needs to be put. But we've got to keep doing this until we change the culture of our country. Our country has developed so rapidly that it's almost like we haven't had the chance to change from a village to a city. In my lifetime, we have gone from 6,000 population to 76,000 population. No country, I don't believe, in the history of mankind has probably had that kind of population growth. We have not been able to adapt to that. We are left behind, or our systems are left behind. And I feel, and this is why I'm so adamant now, that we need to pause on this strategy of population growth. It's not that I'm completely against all population growth, but not at 3,500 people a year for another 10 or 15 years. It's like you come to a point where you have to just say, whoa, we need to slow this thing down and give our people a chance to just adapt and be prepared for what international competition, unlimited, unbridled competition from every person around the world that has the ambition and the intelligence and the education to get on a plane and fly to Cayman and come here and compete with our people, many of whom have never left these shores. You are disadvantaging our people when you open the doors and just say, come as fast as you want. That's ridiculous. And that does not make me some sort of, nationalistic, whatever. No, I've spent almost half of my life being educated and living outside of these shores. I know I have nothing against people from other countries. I went to other countries and lived. I married people from other countries and divorced, I would add. But when I came home to my country. And I believe passionately that Cayman has to be first and foremost for Caymanians. And what we need to do is we need to educate, empower, and motivate Caymanians to rise to the highest levels, all Caymanians, to rise to the highest levels of their potential. So, and until we are focused on this, like a laser focus for multiple election cycles, multiple government cycles, and we are pulling people up by their britches and saying, we have done the best we can do now for the last 8 years. Our people are educated. Now we can open back the doors again. And I just feel that these are the things that we just have to do. We have to face the harsh conversations. We have to not be afraid of the conversations. This situation with this letter, I, like Kathy, would say, hey, I would like to give the minister the benefit of the doubt, because I think if you really wanted to hide something, why would you put it on letterhead? But you know something? That doesn't necessarily mean that the transaction was justifiable or proper just because it's on letterhead, right? So I believe if I were in the minister's position and this was out there, I would answer it. I would say, this is what I did.
And he certainly has the opportunity to do that.
Exactly.
But Troy, my friend, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Really, really appreciate it. We've got a number of comments.
Thank you for the time.
And we do want Kathy to, continue to speak on some of the issues. Troy, have a wonderful day.
You too. Thank you, and good luck, Kathy.
Thanks, honey.
Troy.
Okay,
Sandra, I probably won't be able to stay till 9:30. I think I probably have to hop up around 9:15 this morning.
Yes, I remember you said you had an obligation. So Deanna May says, what happened to AOC money she raised? What is AOC? I don't know what that is. And who is she? Who is she referring to? So remember,
she's an American politician, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She raised a ton of money recently to help the residents in Texas.
Okay. Totally lost me there. Thank you, Kathy, for paying attention. Allison says 8 months and still no health care. John lied at the press briefing, promising to cover displaced tourism employees coverage for April 2021, and that are past medical debt since losing coverage from lockdown. He also, he said, almost a year later, he didn't know how many people were now without health care after he forgot to extend a premium assistance. Whatever he's doing in office is not making sure we have health care. Wow. How do you forget to do something like that for that 30% of your population that is now impacted directly because of tourism? Jonathan jokingly says, I could use some extra money. How do I get a political bribe from my MP? I would sell my vote for the sum of. I don't even know if it's funny. Like, I don't find it funny because it's such a real thing that really hurts people and hurts the entire system.
I think if people thought about it like that, the way he put it in that perspective, maybe they would think differently, but.
Wow. So Johan wants to know, is there a process that removes the doubt and speculation? But currently these decisions, if there's a process, but these decisions on who gets assistance are largely politically motivated. Elizabeth saying that she wishes that Kathy can get a rich sponsor, but then Elizabeth, that means Kathy might be beholden to someone too.
Yeah, why do I need a rich sponsor? I mean, all I have to do is run a campaign with putting up a few signs, which have been donated. And have some political meetings. I don't need a whole ton of money to run a campaign. I'm not going to be that person that's going to try to bribe somebody by buying them a fridge or stove. I believe that we have enough people that want change, and they will take that, what I'm offering to the people, without me needing to give them anything. So to her comment, which I believe is totally unnecessary, she's being sarcastic, really. No, I'm not going to take any big funds from any corporations and then be, a slave to the same thing.
Yep. Carrie has a question. He wants to know where you stand on universal health care and a national lottery.
Carrie has asked this question before.
Yes, I was trying to remember if he had asked it of you, but
yeah. I do believe that we need to reform the healthcare system. Universal healthcare, I think, comes with taxing. So I would like to consider another option, maybe just looking at reforming our national healthcare. Again, that's something that I'm doing a bit of research on right now. But I don't think that universal is the answer, Carrie. What was the other question?
A lottery to maybe pay for it.
Yeah, I know right now we're looking at building industries, with tourism being cut, drastically or suddenly. We're looking at different ways that we can bring in revenue. But something as significant as a lottery, I believe that we need to be having more referendums, and we need to be including the voice of the people. That's not something that I really would want to make a decision on just off the cuff. I think that needs to have definitely more public consultation.
All right. Eddie. Good morning, Eddie. He says, good morning. Troy, we, the voting public, have decided what kind of voting culture we want. In my view, there are two cultures. One who votes with no expectations in return, and the second being where they sell their and their family members vote for a price. Sadly, the second scenario is a rapidly growing sector. Liliana says 500% right, Troy. You made sense. Sanya agrees that Troy hit the nail on the head. Vanessa says free medical Cayman children and education. But don't we have free medical for Cayman children already? Up to what age do children get free medical? I thought that was a thing for Cayman.
The thing about it is I believe the system has changed. It's not easily accessible. You still have to go through the NAU if your child, does not have a healthcare plan. So it's available, but as we can see, there's a bit of bureaucracy right now, and it's probably just because the NAU is inundated with work, but we need to find a system that's more efficient. Give you a perfect example is I know a little girl down the street that she's been having seizures, and she wasn't able to have a MRI or a CAT scan done immediately because her mother had to go to NAU and go through the whole process. So she waited, I think it was like about a week or two before she could get her scan. So we just need to have a look at the poor person's relief law and find a different system.
Interesting. Thank you so much, Kathy. Miss Jenny says people are too busy trying to survive to get involved in government. Interesting. That's why, Jenny, I think we have to put people in who obviously care about the people's best interests. Allison says, thank you, Troy, for standing up instead of giving up. When the big boys tell you to shut up, you get louder. Thank you for that. So, Troy, thank you. Louis says, there you go. This is the insight that needs to be considered: population growth and what is evolving. Someone mentioned to me yesterday, what's the purpose of this population growth mantra that we kind of hear being pushed? And they were wondering if it's to facilitate some of these larger projects, even the healthcare projects that are now on the table, because they kind of said that that's the only way that these healthcare projects even make any sense to them, is if you are expecting a significant increase in the local population. So I don't know if any project developers have had discussions with government on this population growth idea, and if that's why it's being pushed or not. But again, my position has always been, how can you grow? I mean, growth is one thing, but managed growth is another thing. And we are clearly not managing the situation very well. Manuela says that there are rumors that independent candidates are bought to commit to joining the existing parties to enable them to form a government after election. How can we hold those independents accountable for selling us out? Well, before Katherine perhaps addresses that question of candidates themselves being bought, we do know that this is a real concern, Manuela, because even last night, not last night, but yesterday when I visited the lovely district of East End, I had people telling me and showing me evidence of some meetings under the cover of darkness, not very well covered though, because we obviously got pictures, but these meetings that were occurring with the premier joining Isaac Rankin. Now, we had reached out to Isaac last night. He was busy. So we're still waiting on him to provide an explanation as to kind of what this was, because like Manuela, inquiring minds want to know. There's the premier's vehicle visiting a residence of Mr. Isaac, I understand, and actually meeting with his committee, his election committee. And so people are wondering, and I'll put this question to you, Katherine. People are wondering if, and I think we've asked you this question before in terms of where you stand, with the PPM, forming another government that includes McKeever. But what is happening in the background? And I know you can't probably tell us everything. I'll do that part. But what is happening in the background with independent candidates. Are you being courted by different individuals and different parties?
I think courted might not be the right word. I think that other candidates, even incumbents, are seeking to have conversations with independents. I think that, well, I'm speaking personally. I've had a few discussions with some of the members that are in Parliament right now, just because I want to know them a little bit more on a, you know, a little bit more about what their plans are. I think that what happened last election, you know, the whole horse trading, as it was referred to, was a result of lack of conversations leading up to the election. So again, I mean, I get it where there are concerns for, you know, for example, the photo that you have up with the premier, you know, meeting with the independent candidate. But I do believe that it's not something unlikely. I mean, I personally haven't spoken to him, but if he invited me for a conversation, I absolutely would have a sit down with him. I would like to hear what his plans are for the country for the next 4 years, you know. You were asking a question, though, Sandra, so I don't want to steer away from that. What was your question again in terms of if there was a government formed? What was your question?
No, I said we'd asked that question before, and I think you've already answered it.
Oh.
It was in reference to if there is, if you're the last person, a lot of people have been very interested in this question. If PPM gets another, you know, coalition government together, but it was based on you actually joining them. And of course, the one caveat was that Mr. Bush would be in a position of either Speaker of the House or a minister. So it's another leadership position. Would you be minded to be the person that makes that decision to assist him in getting back into leadership position?
Well, I think people prevent progress, and I'm not going to be that person that's going to prevent progress. Now, I think if I heard, because I didn't hear you ask it yesterday, but I thought from conversations with other friends, you were asking if it was a PPM-led government. So for me, my thing is people want change. And so we look at some of the initiatives that the PPM looks like. They appear to be more for developing the country. And I am on a movement to develop our people. And so I'm willing to work with whichever representative has that same vision in mind. I'm not going to be that person that prevents progress because of, you know, I mean, going back to talking about the speaker or Mr. Bush, if the people of West Bay elect him, then you know, if he's a part of a group that is primarily focused on offering change, then yes, I'm not gonna steer away, or what the people say, cut off your nose to spite your face. But I think that it's a bit premature to be having these type of questions, although people want to know. We just have to see who is elected, right? And we take it from there. But my position is that I want to give the people of West Bay what they're looking for, which is change. And if that means that I would have to work with a group of persons that I might not particularly feel would have been my preference, I'm not going to keep that. I'm not going to make that keep me from moving forward as a country. I hope that I've been clear, because I don't believe in standing on a fence. I take a position, and if there's any other questions in relation to that, you know, I'm happy to answer them.
Yeah, the same question has been asked pretty much of everyone since last week. I thought we had asked you this question before, and for some reason I thought you gave a different response, but I can't really remember now. So,
the day that we were the day that I was on the show with Raul, you asked Raul, but it never got posed to me.
Oh, my apologies. So the question then, I'm sorry about that, Catherine. The question then is, if you are the last person, right? You're person number, I don't know what it'd be, number 9 or 10 or whatever, to form a government. So say PPM is able to flip other people, and you're it. And they say, well, Mr. Bush is going to be Speaker of the House again. You're saying in this moment that you would proceed with that because to you that's progress.
I'm not understanding the question. If the PPM, so the government that you're talking about with the PPM would be primarily led by PPM, or it would be a coalition government?
Well, it's what they've done now. So say they get 7. It's the exact same scenario that played out.
Because this unity government that we're having is a PPM-led government.
Well,
Yeah,
and that's the exact same scenario. I'm saying if that same scenario happened again, and it's
well, then that would no. I think I misunderstood you initially. Well, then that would not be change, right? I'm looking to offer change to the people. So what I'm looking for is different than what we have. If it means that I would have to join with a group that has Mr. Bush in that arena, but it offers change, then yes, I would take it. I wouldn't cut off my nose to spite my face. But I believe that we're going to see a lot of opportunities for change. I don't believe that we'll be in that position. I believe that we are going to be able to form a completely new government. Yes, candidates are incumbents who are there will have to comprise of that government, because you can't have a whole new government with inexperienced representatives. But I do believe that because this issue is so recent with Mr. Bush, that's the focus. And for me, that's not the focus right now. The focus is, yes, getting to hear what every incumbent has to say. To be honest, at this stage, I can't meet with anybody now because time has been cut short. But I really would have liked to have had sit downs with everybody who is running to hear, where they stand.
Okay. I mean, I think the problem that people have is, given Mr. Bush's track record, him being part of anything doesn't feel much like a change. This is how one viewer expressed it. They sent this comment earlier, and I'm going to read some of Allison's comment. They said, "Great work yesterday, holding shifting Kenneth to account election alignment with Mac. It is my suggestion that all candidates be required to definitively state if they will or will not support Alden and or Mac being in forming the next government. FYI, both are red lines for me in my consideration to support or not support any candidates. Read parties in the Cayman Islands. Currently, in reality, there are no political parties that even begin to meet worldwide standards for a group of politicians to call a party." So that was one commenter who sent that via WhatsApp early this morning. I know you're saying the likelihood of it happening again, just as it played out this last time, doesn't seem very likely. And yet we have the premier just saying at a press conference on Friday that he is resolved to the fact that we will be having a coalition government formed. And in fact, he's going to be campaigning on a quote unquote coalition manifesto. So he knows that what happened last time is likely to happen again. It's just a question of whether or not the independents can get it together quicker than the PPM in terms of forming a government, because he is banking on exactly what happened last time to happen again. But let's get a few questions here. So Allison says, NAU encouraged me to cancel my insurance and fill out an application for coverage since I lost my job during lockdown and was pregnant. I applied for the coverage with NAU in August of 2020 and then was told some months later the coverage I would be given would be significantly less than what I terminated, and it would only cover the cost of the delivery of the baby. Wow. Baby was born last week and still no coverage. My caseworker hasn't answered a single email all year and is now on vacation. Any thoughts about efficiency of government departments, Katherine, such as NAU? How do you hold civil servants accountable for this sort of thing? I mean, how do you know that a person like Allison is in need, having a baby, a new mother, needs the basics with his health insurance, has been promised health insurance, was even instructed to cancel her decent coverage previously because I guess she was having to pay for it. And now people aren't responding to emails, going on vacation. How do you hold civil servants accountable? I think you've muted yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. mean, I think the way that the system is designed, a lot of civil servants are on open-ended contracts, right? So it's not like when you're in the private sector where you have to account for, you know, your performance. So it does make it difficult to monitor, but I think that that's where within the civil service, perhaps maybe we could see more incentives for, you know, expedient responses. I personally have dealt with the people, the staff over at the NAU. And from observation, I believe that the biggest problem is that they're not staffed enough. And maybe now that, you know, we have a bit of changes with COVID, you know, we could probably do a little bit more reallocation with staff that aren't utilized in there. Like, for example, in tourism, maybe we could shift some persons that are doing admin work in tourism over to the needs assessment unit. Also, maybe streamlining the process a bit more, because the way that I understand it is, you know, most applications go from NAU to family services to Cineco and then back. It seems like there's a lot of bureaucracy. So I think that's one of the reasons why there's a delay. Nothing to do with the staff. I just think we have to find a different pathway that's more efficient. And that again comes with taking a look at that legislation that is in much need for reform. And then again too, you know, also looking at the healthcare industry and seeing how, you know, even once these applications are approved, that we can streamline the process based on priority, you know. Because I mean, I know I was speaking to someone in the neighborhood the other day who was gravely ill, and it took very long for them to get their paperwork sorted out with the NAU. So,
well, I know that you have to go, Catherine. Thank you so much for joining us again in this West Bay Wednesday segment.
Thank you for having me. I just want to say one more time for those who might just be joining the show that I will be having my first public meeting on this Thursday, and the location, oh gosh, it's 133 Glade Drive, which is if you're entering from the shores, you just take Bonneville onto Glade Drive. Also, persons can follow me on Facebook. And Sandra, if you could just throughout the show, just put back up my details that I shared with you so they could see it. And thank you for allowing me onto the show. I enjoy the conversations. I'm really just putting myself out here to show persons that, you know, I'm transparent. I don't have anything to hide. And if anybody wants to know what my position is on any particular issue, they can come out to my meeting tomorrow night and I will answer them on a public forum.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Sandra. Have a good day, everybody.
Thank you, honey. All right, folks, that is Katherine Wilks running for West Bay Central. She comes normally every Wednesday as part of the West Bay Wednesday group. We are hoping that some other candidates, Raul had a previous commitment this morning, so he was not able to join us. Actually, he wanted to join us early, but I thought we really needed to have a conversation in terms of what was happening in Bodden Town. But Katherine is here every week putting herself, up for your questions. And a lot of the candidates are starting to have meetings now. So I want to encourage you all to please pay attention to those public meeting announcements. So Alec Lindsay has one coming up this Thursday. And I'm going to just pull up some information in terms of that here shortly. Give me 1 second. I'm just queuing that up. Oh gosh, sorry. Let me just see. I'm going to stick that here. Okay, so yes, many thanks for Catherine's reminder about her public meeting. And of course, we want to encourage the conversation. So Cece says, it's who you know, I think in relation to what's going on with NAU and that they're not hiring either. Jenny makes a good point that it's been a year since COVID started. When will NAU be properly staffed then? Shouldn't this have been done a year ago? Well, it's a good question. And to the best of my recollection, NAU falls under the minister, the premier. That falls under his responsibility. Darlene, thanks, Catherine, for being upfront and honest. Jenny wants to know, why are people who've been convicted of a crime allowed to run for an MLA? Why do people keep voting him back in? Well, that is only a question that those who live in West Bay and his constituency, I feel, could answer. Mr. Bush, I saw him commenting yesterday that he has had a public service of doing a lot for people. And so the thinking seems to be that it should be negated as a result of that, you know. So, interesting. Well, let's continue the discourse in that vein, Jenny. It's interesting. I mean, I don't know how to explain it. Like, I don't really know. You know, I get that Mr. Bush has done a lot, but doing a lot doesn't mean that if you do something wrong, that you should not be held accountable for your behavior, and there shouldn't be consequences for that. The current law says, in relation to people who run for public office, that if they have been convicted of an offense that carries a sentence of 12 months or more, then that makes them ineligible, as well as if they've been convicted for a dishonesty offense. So the one thing that will get you removed, regardless of the sentence attached to it, is that of a dishonesty offense. So theft, defrauding the government, that sort of thing. But pretty much everything else, assault and any other sorts of things, will not get you removed from public office. So it looks like we need reform in the law. So Louis says, could Troy assist in the CMR field work based on his qualification to give you more time for yourself? Troy, or if you're still listening, let's have a conversation. Louis, I love that idea. This is a community project here. I got to be honest with you at CMR. And so just like how we rely on all of you guys to bring us news and information, which we then seek to verify by independent means, by all means, I would love to have Troy assisting. All hands on deck, folks. We're going to be at the different polling stations. Nomination day, I'm going to be torn into a million different pieces. So yes, absolutely. If Troy wants to jump in and assist, I love that. Darlene says, no disrespect, but West Bay North is getting politically hot. With no disrespect, Thursday, February the 25th, 2021, will even be hotter. Sandy, please read my second comment out loud. Where's the second comment? Let me see what I missed here, Darlene. Is that the second comment? Darlene, let me go back here. What else did I miss? Yes, I think that's it. So tell us what's going on in West Bay North that is causing it to be hot. What's going on? Inquiring minds want to know. What are you hearing on the ground? I mean, you guys are there in West Bay. You're probably hearing a little bit more than we are. At the end of the day, you know, we did hear some interesting rumors about some potential shifting around the place, but it appears that the verdict is still out. So, Tara Rivers, the Mall Road is, she's not supposed to be even running again. But some people think that at the last minute, she's going to change her mind. What a bag of confusion. She's in West Bay South. So what's happening in the North? Is that where Rolston is running? Now, Rolston we've been waiting for Rolston for a minute to tell us what he's doing. We've seen his flyers being circulated, but we don't know. The other thing politically that we do know is that Elio Solomon has thrown his hat back in the ring, and he will be running as well. So yesterday, Elio's signs went up, and I believe Elio will be joining us on the program. It's kind of interesting because Elio has been really quiet recently. We haven't heard a whole lot from Elio. So it's a little bit of a surprise decision on his part. Thank you so much, Eden, for sharing the link for Kathy's meeting. Jenny says he didn't get any time. So there you go. Well, even a suspended sentence would have been enough, but the offense, Jenny, that they charged him with, unfortunately, was such a low lying offense that, yes, there wasn't much to it in terms of what the judge could really do. She says, isn't beating someone dishonest? Not in the legal sense. So when they say a dishonesty offense, that covers certain offenses, including things like theft, obtaining property by deception. So a crime of dishonesty or an offense of dishonesty would be fraud, theft, obtaining property by deception, those types of things, basically related to theft. Money laundering, bribery, corruption, proceeds of crime, I think could also be included. So yeah, normally when you think of a dishonesty offense, you think of theft, fraud, obtaining property by deception, that sort of thing. Yeah. Jenny says, I would have no faith in someone who resorts to violence. Eddie says, Georgetown West is mighty quiet. Let me just see, Georgetown West. Is that not where the young lady just announced that she's running? But again, my issue with persons who are coming out and running, no, that was Georgetown East. So West is David White. So yes, that would be David, Perlina, Webster. They're all relatively quiet. They're not reaching out to the people. And I must say, listen, candidates come in the program and you put them to the test. You're asking them questions. They're putting themselves out there week after week, and you're getting to measure them. These other persons who just declare and they remain silent in the background and they just do a flyer and they think that that's enough to get them elected. Going back to what Eden was saying earlier, we have got to start raising the bar in terms of our expectations. Do you not agree? So you can't just come out a week before nomination day or a couple of days before nomination day, go pay your $1,000 for nomination day, and the people don't even ever get to ask you a question. Or you have one house yard meeting and you think that that's enough. Raise the bar, folks. As voters in this community, I'm asking you all to raise the bar. So I'm glad to see Mrs. Broderick, Debbie, another woman, Emily. What other women do we have that haven't really been, they've declared? Gina Williams, she declares and we hear nothing from her. She's talking about, oh, she posted a social media post and tagged CMR in it and we know nothing about it. But the point is, where in the real world do you believe that that's enough? What meetings have you had? How are you reaching out to people? Shout out to Heather Bodden. Last night, Heather had a Zoom meeting where anybody could join. The Zoom link was available for anyone to join in. You know, using technology to try to reach your constituents. Is that not what we need more of? This silent treatment for people who supposedly want your vote, I simply do not understand. How can you want someone's vote when you're not even prepared to go out there and really work for it and give people an opportunity to get to know you and to ask you some tough questions? This isn't a ride in the park. Honestly, this is about trying to convince people that you are the right person for the job. So when Eddie says that these people are so incredibly quiet, we shouldn't hear that about any constituency. Honestly, everybody should be out there making a lot of noise. Now, when we say anything to these guys, you know what they say to us? Well, Sandy, I'm going door to door and that's enough. I don't know. Elizabeth says they're promoting their campaigns on Facebook and not everyone's on Facebook. Elizabeth, I don't even think they're doing that. Honestly, I really don't believe that that is even the case. They just are doing a different kind of campaigning. I don't know. Jenny says we need to get back to their regular lives in order to talk about raising the bar. People need to get back to their regular lives in order to talk about raising the bar. Oh, what a hot mess. Let's do a couple announcements before we end the program today. So big shout out to this young man here, folks, in case you missed this article a few days ago. This is Giovanni McLean, Gio, as he's known by his friends. He moved to Chicago, Illinois area some years ago with his wife, I think, who's from Illinois. And he has been promoted, listen to this, to the Arlington Heights PWD, Public Works Department Director. So big time job for Giovanni McLean of East End. Kudos to him. For the department, it says for the village of Winnetka, Illinois, where he's worked for over 7 years now. So he's a graduate from Illinois. I think that's where he met his wife, Chicago. He has a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering. This young man actually worked at CUC for a number of years, for over 10 years with the company before relocating to the US. And he left as a system operations manager. And now in Chicago, he continues to, in the Illinois area, to really make his mark, making Caymanians around the world feel very proud, in fact, to be a Caymanian. So thank you, Gio, and congratulations on your recent appointment. A lot of his friends and family have reached out to us just saying how incredibly proud of him they are. Alric Lindsay, as I said, is having a meeting this Thursday. So we're going to give you some details here on that meeting. Give me one quick second to pull it up. And let me just see your other comments that are coming in the interim. Patricia says, Sandy, you have to be fair. Before candidates can try to get on the media, they're faced with rushing to beat the deadline to get all in order to be confirmed as a legitimate candidate. Then they have to put their campaigns together. There's only 24 hours in a day. There's still about 8 weeks to the election. The premier gave this startling news almost 2 weeks ago. And there's a lot, as you know, that candidates must do to ensure they qualify first, despite declaring. In all fairness, Patricia, I don't even know what that means. You gotta explain that to me a little bit more, because every single candidate that is running has either ran before, okay, or knew of their intentions to run from months ago. So there are many things that they could have done in advance of running. It's like running a business. Just like if you were going to try to start up a business and run a business, you need to have a business plan. When you decide that you're going to run for public office, you need to have a candidacy plan, a marketing plan, a budget. How many meetings am I going to have? What are the locations? Where am I going to attempt to have these meetings? Who's going to be putting up my signs? Who's going to be printing my signs? So the issue that I have, Patricia, and trust me, I do not underestimate what is required of candidates, is that they're not ready because they're just not ready. It's not even about the premier calling the early election. He did that in order to catch some of them off guard, knowing that they were not ready. And in all honesty, his own candidates are not ready either. They haven't been doing anything. All of a sudden now they're jumping up, oh, we're going to have a little social meeting, come out, and they get 5 people that attend because no one even knew about it. It goes back to taking this seriously. It's a job. Right? You can't expect to go into an interview and say, well, I didn't have enough time to prepare. I'm not ready. If you knew from the second you knew that you were going to apply for the job, in my humble opinion, you needed to start preparing yourself. And there are persons who've had political aspirations, Patricia, for many years. There are persons, in fact, who ran during the last election and who are still running around scrambling like they don't have a clue. Some are running in their 3rd election unsuccessfully, and they still don't have a clue. In my mind, how can that be? Experience is supposed to be the world's best teacher. And if you've had the experience of running a campaign before, then that would or should be assisting you. I see candidates running who are having people be their quote unquote campaign manager who have no experience in doing any sort of management of anything. They don't understand social media. They don't take the time to learn. Patricia, it's a big obligation when you decide to run for public office, but you need to be prepared or you need to get the help to get you there. So not everybody has the skill sets, but get the help that is needed. Here's a reminder for candidates as well. You've got a deadline on Friday that you better make sure you reach. Otherwise, you're going to be legally in a little quandary.
The Commission for Standards in Public Life advises all electoral candidates that it's now accepting declarations. In accordance with the Standards in Public Life Act, all candidates seeking election for public office must submit a complete Standards in Public Life Schedule 1 declaration form before filing nomination papers on Monday, March 1, 2021. To facilitate a smooth and expedient verification process, the Commission is requesting submission by 10 a.m. Friday, February 26, 2021. To access the declaration form and more information, visit www.standardsinpubliclifecommission.ky or call the Commission office at 244-3685.
All right, folks. If you're running for elected office and you're scrambling around, make sure you meet that deadline, because otherwise you will not be eligible on March the 1st. So you got to meet that deadline for Friday. Alric Lindsay, here are the details of his public meeting coming up on Thursday evening.
Come out this Thursday to meet your candidate of choice, Alric Lindsay. Alric stands for Accountable Leadership, Service to His People, Post-Pandemic Economic Recovery, and Protecting Our Environment. If you've had enough of mediocre leadership, come out and meet the candidate that's smart, hardworking, and brings a new passion to political leadership. Meeting to be held at Surfers Paradise on South Church Street, close to the South Sound Community Center at 6:30 p.m. Brought to you by the Committee to Elect Alric Lindsay for Georgetown South.
All right, folks. Few political announcements there. Believe it or not, we're actually out of time. Thank you so much. Evelyn says exactly be prepared. Elizabeth says she's very proud of Geo. Damien makes the point that you're saying Caymanians moving up outside of Cayman who have the opportunity, and I think that's wonderful. Is Kathy Zooming her meeting? Charlene, I'm not sure, because what the Zoom meeting was, it wasn't a public meeting. Well, it's like a form of another method of meeting with people. So I don't think it's that. I think she's actually having a public meeting. So we will speak to her about perhaps CMR covering that and let you guys know. Patricia says it means as it is worded, you know that every time they declare, they must do everything basically from scratch or update what was on file. Yeah, we get that for sure. Also, there are new requirements for candidates. A job interview isn't the same. Come on now, give people a fair thought. There's also the consideration of funding and fundraising. I won't debate my comments, but in all fairness, you must express all possibilities of why some candidates may not be doing what or how you think they may. That's just how I feel. All right, let me challenge you in this way, Patricia. If a candidate puts up on social media that they are seeking political office, say that they do that on Sunday, that they're going to be running for political office, and I as a media house contact them and say, hey, someone has just sent me your Facebook post and this is fantastic. Do you have a press release? And that person says to me, oh, no, I don't have a press release that states I'm running for political office. Instead, I'm going to prepare one. Give me until tonight. Today is now Wednesday. This was Sunday. Today is now Wednesday, and this person has not yet issued this press release that was supposed to be ready from Sunday night. Patricia, from the second the person decides that they're going to run for public office and they're going to post that on their Facebook page, would you not think it would make logical sense to have your press release ready to go the same time you post it on social media or in advance of posting it on social media? I'm just asking. To me, these are people who are wanting to take on incumbents who are part of an existing machinery. The incumbents have the upper hand, right? They are part of this machinery that is, somewhat better organized. They've been around for years. How does a newcomer expect to take them on when you say that they're starting from scratch and they don't know what they're doing? They don't know where funding is coming from. None of that. You should know that 6 months out. Every single candidate should know 6 months out, am I going to run for public office or not? And if you make the decision that you're going to run, or even if you are 80% sure that you're going to run, you start putting all of these things in place. It isn't rocket science, and I can't hold them to a lesser standard than I would expect of myself or anybody else. That's the standard. Anne says that some will nominate and withdraw just in time so they don't lose their $100,000. Well, they haven't been nominated yet. Nomination day is March the 1st. Once you pay that $100,000, the only way you get that back, I mean, not $100,000, $1,000, sorry. It's $1,000. The only way that you get that $1,000 back is if you get a certain percentage of the votes. If you fall below that, then that's a donation to the government coffers, basically. Candidates have to be keeping track of their finances after nomination day. If they're not even organized to try and get little press releases together, have graphics and artwork done, how they're going to do their meetings, how do we expect them to run this country? I'm sorry. Are my expectations too high? Is there something wrong with me? I'm not being fair to the candidates? I think this is part of the problem, honestly, in all aspects of our lives. Government, people talk about NAU, the mediocrity that we expect and accept even in NAU. How can you not respond to emails all year? And it's now February the 24th. We're almost going into the third month of 2021. You don't respond to emails and now you've gone on vacation. That's not acceptable by any standards. Allison, I'm going to send you the email address for the head of NAU. I think they brought her back in because they kind of placed her elsewhere during COVID because they were saying she wasn't handling her position. And in typical government fashion, you know, they just move you somewhere else. Anyway, we're out of time here, folks. I wish you guys a beautiful day. Stay tuned to Cayman Mall Road. Lots more information coming your way. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you tomorrow morning.